Hello everyone, it's your pal Smelly Nelly here, with stenches so bad my wife is Vincent Van Gogh. It's a little cheeky one for you. So today what we'll be doing is that we're going to be learning how to draw Wallace from Wallace and Gromit. You guys probably know him from his cheese-based adventures with his little pooch. I've always kind of wondered, would like Gromit's blood be like fondue? But, you know, that's like a question for another time. So today we're going to be going through a pretty structured lesson plan. We're going to be going through pretty much how to break down something from a reference, how to build that face up, how to make the emotion of it, how to refine it, really just kind of all the steps you'd need to create your own horrible abominations. We're going to be using some pretty standard techniques to break down characters. So this isn't just for Wallace, this can be applied to a lot of people, a lot of characters that you'll see. So, you know, go out there and, I don't know, draw Patrick Star, you know, going on a date with a bin. Draw Hey Arnold, you know, headbutting a toddler. I don't know, whatever you want to do with this information, whether it's legal or not is up to you, but I believe you'll do the right thing. And yeah, the main thing is just to practice what I'm telling you all up. Let's go. Alrighty then, so let's get stuck into drawing Wallace, and we'll go from there. So first of all, we've got a reference image here. The reference image is very important, at least during the start of the process, because you need to work out, well, I mean, what the character looks like. You know, it's pretty obvious. Like, if you're looking at a photo of SpongeBob and trying to draw Wallace, you know, you're going to have a pretty weird-looking Wallace. So, let's have a look at his face. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to try and simplify his structure by drawing some lines over it, so you guys can kind of see what I mean. So let's turn that opacity down a little bit, and here we go. So, what's Wallace's face mainly? Let's really break it down. Let's separate his head from his ears, and just focus on his head for the time being. So what Wallace's head is pretty much is it's a circle bit up here, and let's just say that this circle is going to follow it all the way down, just for ease for the time being. So it's kind of like a big oval kind of thing, and then like another cheeky little oval down the bottom, kind of the same size, kind of the same shape, just sort of hugging that over oval. You know, they're kind of together, sort of linked. It's kind of nice, you know. I like hanging out. So, already you can see we've got his head structured down, which is a circle and then another circle. Now, what we're going to do is that we're going to put in his eye line, because his eyes define where a lot of his stuff goes. So, his eye line is up the top of his head. And we've got his eye line in there, his ears, just kind of half circles on the side of his head, and then he's got a neck. And pretty much, from what you can see, we've got a very basic structure of Wallace. Now I'm going to show you that over here. So, let's turn this back on quickly. Sorry, I probably should keep that up so you guys can see what I'm doing. Now, so let's practice what we just did. Let's draw one circle, and then this little circle, he's meant to have a friend. So he's got a friend, and that's his little friend there. He's another circle, and he's like, hey, how you doing? And that guy's like, you know, just being around, you know, as circles or ovals do. So we've got our two circles. I've erased the lines that they overlap on, because obviously, you know, we don't want them overlapping. So we're going to put his eye line in. His eye line, very high up the top. Remember, this is all just general stuff, so don't worry too much about getting it perfect. Just put it somewhere up the top of his head. Now we've got his eye line in there. Let's chuck his eyes in there. His eyes, a good thing to check would be the eye size in relation to his head. How many eyes is his head wide? I'd probably say about 3 of his eyes. So 3 of his eyes should equal his head's width. That's a good general rule to follow. You want to be making a lot of these rules, a lot of these things that you can follow to simplify structures. So Wallace's eye, you know, his head's 3 eyes wide. We've already turned him into, you know, base little oval circle things. His ears are already just half circles. Breaking things down and creating little formulas for it, it's very, very good to be able to draw something consistently and a lot. Something that I recommend a lot. So there we go. We've got his eyes in there. They're roughly big enough, but we're not going for perfection at the moment. Next off, we're going to draw his nose. His nose is literally, it's just a circle. It couldn't be simpler. Not that I'm really good at drawing circles, but there we go. We've got his nose in there. Now, let's add his little mouth. Actually, you know what? Let's add his ears next. So with Wallace, his ears, as I said with that formula stuff, we're going to map out his ears. So the top of his ears roughly line up with near the bottom of his eyes and near the bottom of his nose. As you can see, bottom of his ears, bottom of his nose, top of his ears, kind of middle of his eyes. So let's create little guiding lines there. And there we go. And now we've got where we'd place his ears. You can kind of see that. There we go. We're going to give him 2 little lines. And alright, that's starting to kind of look like Wallace. So now that we've started to define his face more, I'm going to kind of go over this bit and I'm going to just bring it in slightly. You can see that his natural head it's not that far out. So it's good to you know, always refine your drawing as you're doing it. There you go, and look at that. Mwah! He looks spick and span. You know, to be honest, I've just noticed, but if you want to get good at drawing Wallace's head, and you know, you were in high school at any point, and remember all those times drawing wangs on the wall, and you know, just doing that general boy-based tomfoolery. Yeah, well, Wallace's head is pretty much just a wang. See? It's a wang. He looks like a wang. So, you know, we've all had enough experience with wangs. I can tell you that much. So, there we go. So that's something that's very good to practice for his head. See, we've made his head a very simple formula. You know, you just have to draw male genitalia, and then, yeah, and then just refine it slightly. So, I'll show you as an example. So this looks like a wang at the moment. We put an eye line in. We put some ears in. We put some eyes into it. We put a nose into it. We bring his mouth up a little bit, his mouth area. And then, look, it's very basic, but before you know it, you're actually starting to build something that looks like Wallace. See? His eyes would be naturally bigger, actually. His nose would be more high up. His ears would be higher up as well. And there you go. Before you know it, off a very silly little drawing of a creamy snake, we've created, you know, Wallace. It's fantastic, and that's what I mean about formulas. Formulas making things simple. Look at that, bang. That looks like Wallace. But let's go back to this one. So we've drawn his eyes. We're going to draw his mouth. His mouth, you know, he's made of clay as well, something you need to remember. So he's got, you know, all these weird little lines on him and all that kind of stuff. But there we go. You see that? After putting in his mouth, and look, this is a very, very simple structure. But we've created a Wallace. And this is without any kind of refinement or anything like that. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go over him and I'm going to refine my Wallace. I'm going to give him more of the things that make him look like Wallace to me. Something important that we haven't quite discussed yet is key traits. What are key traits, you may ask, Nelson? You know, and I will tell you for the low price of 1 forehead kiss a night. I'm so lonely. But no, key traits are pretty much what makes this character, you know? What makes him stand out as Wallace? So let's have a look. So what would I say makes him stand out as Wallace, primarily? I'm gonna quickly deviate, and I'm gonna say we're gonna draw his little necktie. Wallace being one of those characters that's always in the same outfit, that also helps. There we go, cool. So what are key traits of Wallace? His eyes, obviously. But what's something that's probably the biggest key trait of Wallace is his unique head size. With a head shape like this being unique, I can pretty much draw his face to look however I want it to look, and it will still, you know, in theory look like Wallace. So I gotta erase all this, and you know, I could just give him that. And as long as you had his head shape there, and also probably his outfit there as well, it's gonna look like Wallace. Something that's crucial about key points is that you want to make sure that within key points, you're leaving in, the more you change something, the more key points of a design that you'll need for people to be able to recognize it. If I was to make his face look like that, I would probably have to give him his whole outfit as well. Because then with his outfit, it's definitely Wallace. If you took that part off, it might not be Wallace. But if you add that part there, it's definitely Wallace. So keep that in mind. The more things you change about a character's fundamental design, the more key points of that character you're going to need to try and slip in there. Like if you drew Luigi with a face like that, you could just go for the easier one, which is just you just give me his little hat, and that looks like Luigi. You know, some characters have very easily identifiable things that you can just kind of grab off them, and it'll instantly be recognizable as that character, like the L hat. Wallace doesn't technically have that, but he's got his head shape and he's got his classic outfit. So always keep that in mind. Now, what we've been over so far is that we've been over building a base design, studying reference images, how to formulate his head. So what we're going to do is that I'm going to then kind of just sort of go over what we've learned again. So I'm going to go over what we've learned again, and yeah, let's try this one together. So let's draw a little circle, and this circle, you know it, he needs a little friend. He needs a little buddy to hang out with and do circle stuff. Well, I really know what circles do. Probably violate the Geneva Convention. Who knows? We're going to draw Wallace on a different angle though. His head's way too big. So I'm actually going to draw him on a 3/4 angle. On a much more of a 3/4 angle. I'm going to make this easier on myself right at the start. In that first lesson, I showed you that eye lines and lines on head dictate the angle of his face. See how that immediately looks like he's looking this way now? It's very, very important. So I'm going to show you how we can use our formula to draw Wallace on different angles now. Now this drawing here will just rely on you having knowledge of foreshortening and how things work as they get further away. Foreshortening is pretty much just saying that as things get further away from you, they should get smaller. So this side of his face being further away from this side means that it would be smaller. That's just a bit of a heads up. Now I'm going to add his eye in, and because he's on that angle, this eye is going to be bigger than that eye, and it's going to be overlapping that eye quite a bit. Okay, now because he's on this angle, his nose, because it's quite big, is probably going to come out and go over the side of his head this time, instead of before where it didn't go over the side of his head, or actually in this drawing here, I did before. There we go. See, didn't go over the side of his head because he wasn't on a far enough angle. There we go. So now that we've drawn his base face, I would probably go around adjusting this stuff a little bit. So there we go, and so there you go, and now you can start to kind of see Wallace. Now, because he's on an angle, we can see a little bit more of where his ear actually kind of connects. Connects to his head. And his ear shouldn't just be dead on the side, it should be more in like the center of his head. There we go. And cool. So keep in mind that this is all just using our base formula that we learned about Wallace before. What we learned about Wallace is that he was two very simple circles overlapping and being together in harmony. So when you rotate him, he's just those same shapes. But as the things that are closer to you are bigger, and the things that are further away are smaller. So if you don't understand foreshortening when it comes to art, that's something I definitely recommend looking up a lot. because something I use a lot with my character designs is foreshortening, and it's very, 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 very important to understand. And you can see here, so what we've done is that even though this is on a completely different angle to this Wallace, it still looks like Wallace. It doesn't look like a perfect rendition of Wallace, because we're not aiming for perfection. What we're aiming for is that we're aiming for something that looks like Wallace, that you would be able to immediately recognize as Wallace. So there we go. We're going to add in his little outfit, like I said before. Because he's on an angle, that side's going to be bigger, obviously, so it's not. And we're going to just add his little vest in and his arms in. And I'm going to make him, I don't know, I'll have him flipping someone off, because that's kind of funny. Fudge it. Yeah, I like that. That's kind of cool. God, what a bad boy. Oh my god. There we go, you know, whatever, that's fine. I like that. So now you can see some of the topics that we've discussed and some of the things that we've gone over, which is pretty much simplification of head size. Simplification. He looks like a chode. There we go. Bang. Draw your little chode. Next, put in your eyeline. Make sure your eyeline is high at the top of his head. Next, his eyes are 2 beady circles. Okay. Next, his nose is a big, much bigger circle. And should roughly, the bottom of his nose should hit this area here. Should hit this connection point that we have down here. If it doesn't, then we can just change that connection point. I can make his nose look a little bit bigger. Whatever you really want to do. Next, we've mapped out, because we have his eyes and his nose. So now what we can do is that we can know where to put his ears. So we're going to put his ears roughly at the bottom of his eyes to the bottom of his nose. There we go. And once we have that, we can just add his little mouth in there. With his teeth. Remember, I like to do the buck teeth at the top. You don't really have to if you don't want to. I don't think he actually does have teeth like this. I just personally think it adds to the character a little bit. And now with that, we can add in his neck, add in his little tie combo. There we go. His little vest. And before you know it, that is Wallace. It's a very, very simplistic version of Wallace. But nonetheless, it still very much is Wallace. Refinement would come just from you, well, just kind of doing standard stuff, really. Oh, and almost forgot one last thing, is that his eyebrows, he does actually have a pretty big brow line. That's also important. Gives his head more shape. So there you go. It's not a perfect looking Wallace, but it's just done very quickly to give you an idea of what he should look like. You could even make his mouth a little bit flatter. And if I was going to make this Wallace look better, I'd make his nose probably a little bit bigger. There we go. And just kind of do that. And I love it. And that is, in essence, how I draw the character Wallace. Very simple. Very simplistic. Seems complicated, trust me, but it really isn't. You do it a couple times and you'll have it down packed. You'll have it more down than a kid at his dad's funeral. That's actually really down. So. Poor little guy. But yeah. Practice it a lot, and you'll realize that a lot of these things that I've talked about can be transferred to other characters. Remember we said about the most important thing to take from this was key features. So what are their key features? What makes this character look like Wallace? Undoubtedly. That's what you want to think about. What are their core traits? What's the core of Wallace? Or the core of whatever character you're going to draw. Anyway, thanks for your time. I hope that you learned something here. If you didn't, let me know, and yeah, I will skin myself alive. Yeah. So thanks for your time. Love your support, and I'm gonna finish this video with me doing a speed art of coloring in one of these Wallaces that I have here. This one here that I drew originally. So yeah. So I will leave you with that. Catch you later.